It takes vision to blaze a trail, to see possibility in a fallow field, or to imagine the needs of a community decades into the future. The greatest visions are perhaps the easiest to take for granted because they sometimes reward us across the decades, their fruits seeming always to have been there, the promise of a new season seeming always to be assured. They leave a legacy. Nearly 100 years ago in 1923, 25 committed residents of Sycamore had just this sort of vision when they met to determine how a public park system could be developed for our area's residents. The result of their trailblazing was the Sycamore Community Park and golf course, located on the eastern edge of our town. What would Sycamore be like without these amenities? Over the years, the park has grown to include a swimming pool, jogging and biking paths, playing fields, tennis courts, playgrounds, and picnic areas. After about 50 years in 1970, 85 acres were added to our park on the east side of town. 5 years later, the community came together to support the construction of the sports complex. The Sycamore Park District staff has worked hard to see that this community treasure has been well maintained through responsible management of tax dollars. How might Sycamore be different had past residents not set out to create this legacy?
We celebrated 90 years of service to our community in 2013, but we never forget that our accomplishments and the accomplishments of park boards that preceded us owe a great deal to that first group of visionaries who understood the value of a park system to our community, and those that came 50 years later and made the sports complex possible. They imagined the benefits of green spaces and recreational opportunities. They understood, as we do, that an active community is a healthy community.
Property values, the ability to attract new businesses, and the overall quality of life are all deeply affected by the excellence of the community park system. But the vision that isn't renewed from time to time is a vision that fades. Like those forward-thinking citizens in 1923 and the 1970s are trailblazers, creating a way forward and a legacy for generations to come. Now, almost 50 years after the creation of the sports complex, what will you and I leave as a legacy?
Sycamore residents are always wondering how they can put more into Sycamore. It's not just a catchy slogan, it's a way of thinking about community that wells up from our very DNA. So who better to ask about the needs of our city, now and in the future, than the people we serve?
Through 2 community-wide surveys and a 21-member community-wide strategic planning team composed of all ages, from middle school students to seniors, we were able to ask about, listen to, and share the vision of Sycamore's citizens, and what a great vision it is. Through our research, we were able to find 7 areas of development for our park system that reflected the values and aspirations of our city and its people. It is a vision worthy of a town that understands its legacy of greatness and its responsibility to ensure that future generations will share in that legacy. We call it Vision 2020. Vision 2020 will take us in a bold new direction, a direction that continues down the path of health, prosperity, and well-being envisioned way back in 1923. Here is a trail that Sycamore residents have asked us to pursue as we move toward the 3rd decade of the 21st century. Trails, of course, trails. Trails for jogging, walking, bicycling, but also trails that connect all of our parks in a system that can be easily navigated by a child on a bike or a senior out for a stroll on a sunny day. Think of it, a system of trails that puts a safe buffer between users and the busy roads and highways that intersect our great community.
Anyone who lives in Northern Illinois knows that outdoor recreation is only half the story. While we've made do with a repurposed church, a warehouse, and most recently the barn-like structure north of West State Street, we're now spending over $70,000 a year for a space that is too small and too difficult to get to. Our Vision 2020 sees a new community center that offers plenty of space for running, recreation, sports practice areas, fitness rooms, classrooms, and crafting areas. A couple of free resources we can always count on in Sycamore are gravity and snow. Throw in a hill and you've got an old-fashioned recipe for winter fun. The sled hill will expand our opportunities for winter recreation. Judging from the use our golf course got this year from snowshoers and cross-country skiers, the sledding hill will be a popular destination. Our Park District pool is 31 years old, and unfortunately, it sits in a floodplain that precludes expansion. We've pledged to keep it functioning as long as it's economically feasible, but aquatic recreation is still in short supply. A splash pad will provide a safe, economical way to cool off during the summer months. It can be used by all ages, requires a minimum of staffing, and will feature a waterfall that children and grandchildren will love. What kind of community would we be if we left our four-footed friends out of the fun? We'll have to find some land that isn't in the floodplain, covering about 70% of the Sycamore Park District land, where fences are prohibited. But non-dog owners and dog owners alike have agreed on the importance of having a clean, dedicated area for dogs to run. The tails are already wagging.
There's a reason that Sycamore Park Golf Club operates in the black while other courses are struggling to sell memberships and fill tee times. It's well maintained, well run, and offers the best deal for golfers. Its greens are green and its fairways are lush. Keeping the course in shape requires regular irrigation, and the system installed in 1989 is at the end of its usable life. We've had the course irrigation system on the capital equipment list for years, but other expenses have forced us to put off replacing it. We've far exceeded the industry standard lifespan of 25 years, and replacement parts aren't available anymore. While it's not the sexiest item on the Vision 2020 list, it's one of the most crucial if we want to keep our course a popular and a financial winner. The Sycamore Park Sports Complex was developed over 40 years ago, and over time, the number of teams and organizations that use it has expanded dramatically. Baseball, soccer, football, and rugby all take place on its fields. Occasionally, it serves as a make-do, no pun intended, dog park. In short, there's a lot of activity. There's both a need and a desire to expand the complex and reconfigure the parking for both safety and convenience.
So there's a lot to do to realize Sycamore's Vision 2020 for its park system, but together we can get it done. Looking forward for future generations, improving the quality of life of current residents, and seeing more in Sycamore than just a place to live, envisioning instead a place for all of us to thrive. It's why we became park commissioners, it's why citizens volunteer for Park Pride Day, and step forward to serve on our Citizens Advisory Committee. It's why a group of forward-thinking people came together in 1923 and 1970 to ensure the future of our parks, and why you and I must make our way down the trail they started and take our turn as trailblazers for our community. It's time for us to leave a legacy. Sycamore enjoys award-winning schools, championship athletic teams, a dedicated fire and police department, an excellent library, and a city council that provides scandal-free stewardship for our city. All of these achievements are the result of investments by you, the citizens of this great town. Yes, investments in time and energy, but also financial investment. We plan to fund the Vision 2020 through a variety of initiatives. 1/3 of those dollars will come from outside sources. The Park Board has applied for grants for the community center and the trail system. We'll be soliciting private donations and sponsorships, and we'll be asking stakeholders to assist with fundraising. We've already purchased 25 acres east of the community park along Airport Road. And yes, the Vision 2020 will require some additional dollars. Remember, it's your city, your parks, and your commitment.
The Illinois Department of Transportation has grants for the trail projects that would pay for 80% of the cost for our estimated $2.1 million in trail costs. And the Park District has already applied for a $2.5 million grant for the community center. These funds would help a lot. However, in the end, some funds are going to have to come from local support. The board is considering its options, seeking local donations and support, and trying very hard to keep the local impact as little as possible. We estimate that the 7 improvements we've outlined would cost the average household in Sycamore about $7.61 a month, or $91.28 per year. That's 25 cents a day, less than a pack of gum, less than a can of pop. Compare that to your cell phone service, monthly cable costs. These expenses dwarf the investment you'll be asked to make in your parks.
Only you can put a value on a sunny day spent splashing with your children or grandchildren at the splash pad, or walking your best friend in a dog-friendly environment. Only as you enjoy the existing park facilities envisioned and supported by earlier generations can you imagine the gratitude of those who will follow, thankful for the foresight we showed when it was our turn to walk the trail.
The Sycamore Park District Board has planned carefully for the fulfillment of Vision 2020. The plan accommodates our city's growth. It will create jobs, bring visitors and businesses to our town, and provide safe, healthy recreation for our children. Having these resources in Sycamore will save our citizens from having to travel elsewhere to fulfill their recreational needs.
Help us make this investment in Sycamore.
The Sycamore of today
and the Sycamore of tomorrow.